why don't we just have everyone introduce themselves? We'll start at this end, and then we'll end with Day, and then Day, you can give us the full introduction. How about that? All right, so down here we got
Yanti Strickland, producer.
Carvin Hagen's music producer.
Wait. You got a much longer bio than me, yeah. You send me about 5 paragraphs. Come on. Yeah. Maybe that was Carvin, but both.
That was Carvin bio.
Okay, but you got a lot of credits too, man. What film did you work on here?
We did Thomas Wiggins. We did
Lomax.
Yeah, Lomax. We did a lot.
Yeah.
And did you do original songs or a score or both?
We did the music. We did all the music.
All the music.
Yeah.
Wow. And you're down here from Atlanta?
Yeah, Jersey, by way of Jersey.
Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Well, thanks. Welcome to Savannah.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So I got to do that whole spiel too?
Tell us what we need to know, Carvin.
So I'm Carvin Hagen's Grammy Award-winning songwriter, producer. He's actually Grammy Award-winning as well. In my career, I've sold over 100 million records, I'm sorry.
So 100 million.
Yes, 100 million, yes. Close to 100 million records. But I'm a songwriter, producer, and one of the composers and producers of the great Renegades.
How did you get brought into this project?
I was brought in by this young lady right here, who we've been doing business with for a while now.
Wonderful. And how did you meet this young lady here?
No, each other for
Long time.
Yeah.
So Marcia, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I am a writer, producer, director, and I've been in radio, film, and TV for over 20 years. And I am also one of the writers, directors, and producers on the Renegades project. And I was on Thomas Wiggins' project as well as Celestine, and very grateful to be here.
Wonderful. 2 great musician films, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
From Philly, live in here.
Oh, wow. And Celestine was from Philly too, right?
Correct.
And Atlantic City, right? Like, fantastic. So, hometown story.
Yes.
You brought it to life.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yep.
Incredible. All right. And next, we have Angel.
Angel Williams.
Angel Williams.
I'm originally from Washington, D.C., live in Denver, Colorado. I am a Army veteran, a disabled Army veteran. And I was the co-writer and producer of the Daniel K. Inouye episode with Tammy. And I'm a writer-producer that, that's what I transitioned into after the military. But I will just throw this in. My family is originally from Savannah. They go back 4 generations. So this is kind of like a nice little,
Little homecoming for you.
Homecoming a little bit
Wow.
to be here and screen.
Very cool. Well, it's our honor to have you back here.
Missed them.
And I'm going to throw this in.
I'm going to bring that back.
Pat is a really good VFX artist, and he's trying to leave me. We did a project.
I'm trying to leave all the visual effects industry.
And he came
You're dragging me
We
back.
need him for a feature. So
All right. Well, my
I
last.
need everyone in this room to tell him he has to stay for the feature.
What's the name of that feature?
I got next, and it stars Bailey Bass from the Avatar films, and we have a very talented young lady named Emmy Costco. She has Williams syndrome, and the film is about a young girl who wants to play basketball that has Williams syndrome, and people just see her disability, and it's a really good.
Now, Williams syndrome is similar to Down syndrome?
It's similar to Down syndrome.
Yeah.
It's just the way the gene is modified is different.
Right. Well, that's wonderful that you're really highlighting those stories and telling in a unique way. I did work on the short film I Got Next, in full disclosure, and it's a really fun basketball film. You wouldn't know any of the visual effects work I did. It's invisible, so don't even look for it. Okay. So, Tammy.
I'm Tammy Botkin. I directed A Long March, which Pat graciously programmed right after the Daniel Inouye episode. So what a shocking joy to be that. And I got to work on Inouye with Angel. We had to fly to Hawaii to work on that one. It was really, it was a tough film. We were one of the few teams that did not get to work with you guys on music. We had another guy from the Pacific region who was in tune with the Inouye project. So our music package, I think, was slightly different. But except for our theme songs, man, it's great. So.
How does that? You guys want to sing it? How does it go?
Day is gonna sing it, and
I'm a terrible singer, you guys. This is why I hire other people to do the hard work and to do the music, because I can't.
Well, so Jay, here we are with you finally, the creator of this whole series, right?
Woohoo! Yeah.
Okay.
That makes me sound so fancy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So my name is Dale Muhammad. I'm the series creator for Renegades. And I guess officially, I think the title is senior producer. But mostly, I've just had the benefit of working with amazing, talented people. I go, I have this idea, and then let other people bring it to this most beautiful visual life. But I've also written and directed on my own. And in relation to Renegades, I'm also the former White House Director of Disability Policy. So have a relatively good understanding of kind of some of the policy and political ideas we wanted to get across and be able to tell disability stories in a fun and interesting way that actually captures the vibrancy of the people, not so much necessarily just the story of what happened to them. The biggest thing is the fact that disability as a whole is missing a lot of its cultural history, right? Did we exist then? Do we, if we're invisible now in parts because we're not seeing it in the past. And so when you're telling these kinds of stories, it's not a political action, it's because disability was actually there. And if you have a place in the past, that means you exist in the present and that there's a place for you in the future. And so I think that's part of the biggest policy. And in many ways, if you think about documentary as a whole, right, it's capturing memory, it's capturing truth that maybe hasn't been seen by the mainstream and putting it out there so everyone has a chance to learn and experience that. And that way we all can go forward into the future without that memory being lost. Because when you lose that, you're losing people and you're losing pieces of humanity. And that's where one of the things, like I said, about Renegades, a lot of the disability stories are kind of like this overcoming, and we purposely didn't want to do that. We wanted to show the vibrancy of individuals. We wanted to show joy. We wanted to show, courage, but we also wanted to show the pluses and minuses that come with the way we exist in society and the way people think.
Right. Well, I think of Thomas Wiggins, who overcoming, I mean, he at 3 years old just climbed up to the piano and started playing like Mozart, right? That's not overcoming. That's just God-given talent that just presented itself, right?
Right.
And people found him, because of his talent. So
exactly. Everybody knew about it as Blind Tom.
Right.
But it was also talked about. There's this developmental disability, and there's this big rift and difficulty when you talk about trying to capture developmental disability in history because it may have been named differently, or I know Marcia has some thoughts on this, so I'm just gonna punt it.
Yeah, about intellectual disabilities and agency, right? And which is interesting because at the time when we were putting the project together, we were referencing Britney Spears.
Okay.
Right? Which we can also do today.
Now wait, explain to some people here who might not know the relation between Blind Tom and Britney Spears. Now, by the way, everybody, does he go by Blind Tom or Thomas Wiggins?
Thomas Wiggins.
Thomas Wiggins.
let's-
He's from Georgia, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
he's, one of our
Columbus, Georgia.
local stars, Columbus, Georgia.
Yep.
And he was enslaved,
Yep.
right?
Yep. And under conservancy.
Conservancy, yeah.
Yes.
And so Britney Spears was also under conservancy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yesterday, right? She had a DUI. The reason why I bring that up is because, there was a lot of her fans were, free Britney. Let's, take her out of her conservancy, and so a couple of her fans were interviewed again, and then they were just like, wow, you know, we're thinking that we should have probably not said that, because, you know, she's dancing around with knives, and maybe we should have had a different strategy. Maybe it shouldn't have been her dad that was over it.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
like, but maybe she should have still been under one,
Yeah.
or something. And so I'm saying all that to say, you know, sometimes we should just mind our business, right? It's like, it's not for the public, right? Like, nowadays, that's just, people feel like they have a place in other people, like family business, right? But for Tom, the Bethune family came in, separated him from his mother, and, you know, to the point where they moved him, and she was heartbroken. And, like, imagine, you know, somebody coming in, your child having this immense talent, and I believe they gave her some very, very low allowance, and living off of it barely, you know, but then profiting off of it, him being the very first African American artist to perform at the White House, and your mother is really far removed from that process. And so who gets to determine, you know, one's agency? You know, like, this white family, you know, and your mother isn't a part of it, who they get to determine that she's removed from it, you know? And
You have a whole other documentary right there.
right, girl, don't even get me started. I'm just getting worked up over here all
I know, I'm sitting over here getting worked up myself. So I think you're gonna do that one.
Right.
Right.
I just love how you're taking this lesson from 150 years ago, 160 years ago.
Yeah.
And you're just right away talking about how it's relevant today. Still,
is.
we're
It
still
is
we're
very
still
relevant.
having this discussion today.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Well, let's give some other people a chance to talk about, you know, some of the other stars of the Renegades, I guess, because we know about Celestine faced a similar situation,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And
So then-
but she had she had like a whole community that came together for her.
Right.
And do you think that maybe it was different in her case because of the nature of her disability, or what do you think the story was with Celestine?
Almost like, you know,
So
instead
then
of
we
the
want to
child
talk
being
about.
taken away, the mother's being.
So then we want to talk about, you know, strong black woman trope, right? See, you don't want to get me started here. I'm on this early Saturday morning, okay? I got time today.
We got time, Martha. Go ahead.
time.
We got time. Go ahead. We got time.
So it's like, and I can absolutely relate,
Yeah.
right? Because I just had multiple brain surgeries, right? Don't let this little bit of makeup throw you off, okay? And so with that, Celestine, you know, she had her toddler, her infant rather, removed from the home because she went and asked for help. Now, similar, like I just told you about Thomas Wiggins, imagine going to the state to ask for help, and then all these officers show up to your house, excessive amounts, and to remove your child. You know she can't get up and answer the door.
Yeah.
So-
And on top of that, you have no arms and legs.
She has them,
Well, I'm sorry.
She doesn't have the use of
them.
them.
So I mean, just
right? She
imagine
doesn't have the use
feeling
of them.
helpless to not rescue your child.
But and so
Imagine
that's
how
what
that
I'm
would
saying.
feel, and without the
Right.
use
So
of
so
your-
Like, come on, you could have sent one officer, right?
Yeah.
So excessive amounts,
Yeah,
right?
I think it was seven cop cars, lights and sirens blazing.
That's crazy.
And they come up, but unlike most women I know, myself included, who would have fell apart, maybe not me because I'm from Philly, right? She doesn't skip a beat.
Yeah.
She contacts the radio station. She's like, "Oh, for real? You want to take my child?" She tells them what's going on. She's like fighting it. She tells everybody what's happening, and they're like, "What? They're doing what?" She goes to to court, and the judge is like, they're saying that you're unfit. Okay, so this is what we need you to do. I'm giving you the abbreviated version, of course. So they're like, okay, so let's see you feed your daughter. She feeds her daughter with her mouth. She does everything with the use of the mouth. We need to see you, change your daughter's diaper. She changes her daughter's diaper. The judge is like, I don't see an unfit mother. Like, let me see you change your child's diaper with your mouth. You know what I mean? Right? Like, I couldn't do that. Like, that's probably what he's thinking. It's unprecedented. She gets her daughter back within 10 days. Even to this day, like, most people do not, if they have their child removed, they don't get their child back within 10 days.
Yeah.
A disabled parent who has their child removed does not get their child back within 10 days. It does not happen. And so, like, hats off to her, because, Jet Magazine was coming to her after that. Like, people knew her name all over, not just in Philly, all over the country.
Is her story a legal precedent at all to this day for in Philly
It is
or
for
any of us?
disabled parents. Like,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
like, this woman,
Yeah.
like, used everything she could. That's what I'm saying. This magazine they came to her house. And it's just a beautiful thing, to the point where they followed her after that. Like, they have pictures of her wedding. Like,
Yeah.
they want to know who this woman is. Who is this woman
Yeah.
that is, like, fighting the state like this? And so that's what you see in the film. Like, she's joyous. You see her dancing. She's like, I don't care if I'm going to use some. You see me jamming over here.
Yeah. I mean, it's so inspirational. It's
like
to see the video you guys found of her, by the way, and the photos of her. That's
Yeah.
really amazing. And
yeah, it's like, I dare you to say that I can't in life.
yeah. Yeah.
Like, watch some of
No.
these.
Yeah.
And one of the key underlying things is, even today, there are 23 states where the existence of a disability is enough to have a child removed. Not that you can't care about it. That's not even a factor. It's just having it. So I'm here with my guide dog. Just because I cannot see, they can take my 2-year-old from me. Doesn't matter if I'm a great mom. The law basically says presence is enough to be deemed unfit. And that's today. And Celestine's doing this, almost 50 years ago?
Yes, 50 years ago. Her daughter just turned 50 in October.
Wow. Well, Day, I gotta say, you're an inspirational present day character. I gotta say, I mean, raising a 2-year-old, putting together a film series, and you're an author. You were just presenting your science fiction work at the Baltimore Book Festival. So, what can't you do?
Be up with a 2-year-old at 3 a.m. That's when I go, hey, honey, it's your turn.
Amazing.
I'll pay for that later, just so you know.
Well, Day, what do you think? Who should we talk about next? What's the next character or director, or where should we go?
So I actually would love to hear, like, one of the biggest things about any film is the music. And it's such a hard line to do it just enough that it helps enhance a film without overcoming a film. And it's something that stamps and sets a precedent with regard to what the film is about. And I'll say this because the Carvin and his team, the folks, created the Renegades theme song, I heard it. I called my mama up immediately and said, Mom, they got it. They got it. This is it.
Yeah.
And she wasn't real happy because that was also about 1 o'clock in the morning when I got that email. So,
Well,
but
wonderful. Did it? Were there a lot of versions that you went through, or did it just click? I mean, how did it come together?
No, I think we started. We had 2 ideas. We sent the one idea in, and it was like, "That's good, but can you give me something different?" Like, okay, cool. Went back in. I was thinking of the Beatles. It's like it needs to feel like the Beatles, but just the soul of what this whole
Which era of the Beatles? Which version of the
the
Beatles?
60s version.
60s version.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like let's play in that area of the Beatles, and it just has to embody the power of Renegades. So that's what we did, and once we were done, we sent it over, and it's like we love it. It's like,
And now,
okay, cool.
you know, it's a tall order, right? To capture the spirit of the Renegades in what? 10 seconds, 15 seconds?
We did a whole record. We
got a whole record
we
out
just
there.
made a whole entire record,
Right.
and then we edited it for what was necessary.
Yeah, but still, that hook, right? The chorus,
yeah.
you hear it each episode. That's
Yeah.
the moment that you guys really captured. So
Yeah.
So yeah, you must have had different versions of the song then, right? You
No.
got a long version and a short version.
Oh, yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
For the different episodes.
Yeah.
Did you all have to score each of the episodes one individually, or how did that work?
No, we did. So we did 3 episodes, and the beauty of how we work is that the music is the co-star in every scene. We just master it at being atmosphere. So we want to make sure that every line of the music is evoking the emotion of what you're looking at. So that's what we did. We just watched and started creating the music. I'll tell the guys, look, it feels like this to me. This scene feels this. This is the emotion I feel. And then I'll pass it over to Yanti, and then
And what did you do, Yanti, at that point?
I'll watch it and put myself in that space. You know, that's how I approach any music that I do, any production. I'm, putting myself in the space, like what it feels like. What did they feel like? You know what I'm saying? Just really paying attention, and then like just really going into that space. So like visually, and then what does that sound like? First, what does it feel like?
And do you pick up an instrument at that point? Or
Like, yeah, do everything.
Which
We bring
instruments
musicians, we have keys, drums,
yeah.
strings, we do everything. So, you know what I mean? So the scenery and the moment tells you, like laughter, or, something, a suspenseful moment, or,
Now, who is that beautiful female singer that we hear?
that's
That's
Stephanie Chambers.
Stephanie Chambers.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So once he's done with putting the music together,
I send it back to them.
and
Him
then
and Stephanie go in.
But how did you decide on Stephanie? Did you just know from the
She was
start
with us.
she was going to be the one? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
it.
She's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Can I just say something,
Yeah,
too?
yeah.
The reason why I like to work with them is because I don't have to micromanage.
Yeah.
And that's really important because like I can move forward with whatever else I have to do. You know what I mean? Because we're working with a tight timeline,
Yeah.
and I don't have to say, hey guys, like exactly what they just said. Like I can go in and feel what, like I don't have to tell them like, why don't you like put in like how you feel, and like I don't have to do that. They can do that.
And with the spirit of this series itself, 6 episodes directed by all different writers, directors, that you can't micromanage it, right?
No.
You got to release
We don't
control
have
to
time
each
to do
episode.
that. You
Yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
And the fact that I know, like, Yant is brilliant. Like, they're both equally brilliant, like, in different ways.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Like,
You got to give the artist some space, right?
absolutely. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who wrote the lyrics, though? Who came up with the words?
that's me, and me and Stephanie Chambers. And really the beauty of it is what I love to do is read the script of what we're about to do. Whatever we're doing.
Transcripts.
Yeah, send me the script. Whatever script we're doing, send me the script. I'll read the script, and from that script I'll go, okay, this is an emotional part. This is funny. This is deep. This is dark. This is morbid.
You can pick that up just from black words on
Yep.
a white page. You don't need
Absolutely.
visuals. You
Yep.
just read the words.
Well, words are my life, right? So I write songs for a living. So reading those words, if it evoked the emotion in me just from reading it, then I know the music that it's supposed to sound like. And okay, this is the scope of what we're looking at. And then I talk to the team and go, all right, from here to here, we have an emotional moment happening. And then right after that, we go into this elated idea. And when I tell them that, the music come back emotional. And by the middle of it, it's like, ah, and then we get to write what we need to write.
Yeah. And that's so fascinating because this is such a visual project, though.
Yeah.
You know, you're able to visualize it without even seeing it, but this is a very visual medium. And I want to talk about the elephant who's not in the room here, Lachi, you know, who is, you know, visually impaired, right, to a degree, right? But yet she's put together this visual masterpiece, which is really cool. And so, who dealt with Lachi the most, or how did Lachi get into this, and who has worked with Lachi the most? Was that you, Dang?
Yes,
Okay. Well, tell us about Lachi.
Sure. So one of the things that Lachi had done for a while was she had her own little video cast. And we were looking for a host for the series because one of the things, if you'll notice more and more today, a lot of folks really like small form video, social media video, but it's usually hosted series that tend to do really, really well. And to work with a more modern audience, especially when we're talking about topics that folks may not be as familiar with, having somebody else who's kind of your introduction and to bring you into it was what we wanted. And one of the things she did is she did an interview with the Blind Boys of Alabama.
Oh, I love those guys.
Right, and it was.
I saw him at the Lucas Theater here a few years ago. I mean, we were up dancing front stage. Oh man, I love
And
those guys.
it was a great interview. One of the hardest things to do in an interview is to actually not take up space. You want to draw other people into doing the answers, and she was doing a really good job of that, which is hard to do. If anyone's met Lachi, she has a very big personality, right? And she's a musician in her own right, and so part of her job is to take up that kind of space. But in the interview, she was able to pull it back, and I'm like, I think she would be really good for that.
Like, that's a professional, right?
Right, and so we had a conversation about it, and I said, would you be interested in doing that? And she's like, well, I haven't done anything on television. That's fine. I said, we'll walk you through it. I'm like, I make up the interview questions anyway, so I tell you what to say, and we kind of go from there. And other than that, it's the usual rules of, all right, number one, you know, if somebody says something really great, but it's really long, your answer is, oh, that's really great. Can you say that again more succinctly to make sure we get it, right? Yeah. You always make sure, you know, two.
Wait, I'm sorry. What was that? Can you say that again more succinctly?
Oh, got me.
So Lachi would do that for you?
Yep, we wanted that. That way, guess what? For us, multiple cuts, you know. Two, please cut down on the just encourage people to talk. You know, use silence.
This is exactly what I'm trying to tell my staff to do.
You know, and so we have some just basic rules. And then I said, and the third was, if there's something that they've said that caught your interest, you haven't done all the research we have, neither has the audience, go ahead and ask a follow-up question. And I think with those three rules, and then letting her go, we were able to actually get really good stuff. And Lachi has, I think, it had a lot of fun doing the series as a part of that, including a trip to Hawaii.
You got a trip to Hawaii out of
Hard.
it. Yeah.
No, it was a hard trip.
The
it was
hardest
so
trip.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I hear Adam Sandler films all of his films in Hawaii
Because it's like
he likes to give his
hardest
yeah
place to
yeah.
film.
So you know how good you are of a filmmaker if you can get it done there.
Wait,
It's
okay.
so
wait, are you guys being sarcastic here? Come on, like, is it the weather? It's too distracting, or what?
The sand is everywhere.
You got the
equipment.
chickens, the wild chickens running around.
How many little sounds in the background that pop in? Birds. But yeah, and I will say Lachi was really patient because everything we did on those locations. So we were flying her all over the country over the space of a month.
Incredible.
So.
Well, I really want to know more about Hawaii, though. So,
Yeah,
like,
now you get in trouble. So
this was for Daniel anyway. Just let's set it up here. Daniel anyway is from Hawaii, right? Senator from Hawaii. He did not have a right arm, I believe.
Right arm.
Yeah, and he didn't. It didn't faze him. I hear he didn't really even like to recognize that he had a disability, right? Like that
Right.
was kind of his thing.
When you read his biography and even just listen to him talk, it was more of a cultural thing of not recognizing, not saying you're
The
disabled.
Japanese American cultural thing.
And it doesn't just affect their culture, it affects all cultures that are people of color. Because
Okay.
one of the things you have to realize, unfortunately, in this country, if you are not a white person, then you are less than. And so when you're already targeted and things are being said about you as weak and all these different negatives, the one thing you're not going to do is present another weakness.
You don't want to play the victim.
So that's
right?
kind
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
same,
yeah.
like with Daniel, he would always say, I'm not disabled, I just don't have a right arm. Right? So that kind of correlates with Celeste's thing. It's like, I'm not going to say I'm disabled, I just need a little help. But because of her asking for help, they're like, see, here's a black
Right,
woman that's
right.
weak and she
Right,
can't do
right,
this.
right,
And so it's
But the truth is,
easier.
everyone needs a little help. I need a
Exactly.
little help every day, and
Yeah.
even though I have all the privileges in the world, but if I don't admit that I need help, I'm gonna drown. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So
yeah,
that's,
yeah.
I mean, even for myself, it took a long time. Like, even after getting out the military, they was like, oh, you can get your VA disability. I'm like, I'm not disabled. I can still walk. I can still do this. And they're like going over all the things. I'm like, oh, that's medical issues. That's not a disability. And it's just like, because it's already been programmed into me as a black woman, you can't say you have something else wrong with you because now you're even weaker than what people already think of you.
Right.
So that's kind of the mindset he had, was that I can't show anything else that's going to make them think less of what they already think of me. You know,
Yeah,
you're being
but-
put in encampments and you're
Right.
being called all these names, so you can't say, oh
Girl,
yeah,
you're strong. You got this.
Right.
Now, it's really interesting you bring that up because, Tammy, we played your film, Daniel Inouye, and then we played A Long March, your feature. I paired those two in that block because they both related to World War II, right? But I almost programmed Daniel Inouye before Diamond Diplomacy, which is playing later tonight, because Diamond Diplomacy is all about America's relationship with Japan through baseball since before World War II and after World War II. And so I just think it's really amazing how the Daniel Inouye story is brings together all these different forces of history, right? Like World War II, his injury, and then the Japanese American experience as well. Just his political career
everywhere.
is
Because
historic.
he was in a
So-
long march because he
was
was
in a
the
long march.
senator
Wait, what?
that was leading
Okay.
the fight in Congress to recognize the Filipino veterans of World War II. That was his bill.
Incredible. So your two films are like
Yes.
connected.
Yeah. And I
yeah.
think that that's part of why Day and Amanda approached me, because they knew my knowledge of the senator, and they know that I'm neurospicy, even though
Is that a technical term?
it is a technical term. Or as Amanda tells me, you're neurodivergent as hell. And I'm like, okay. And it's been in large Amanda, who isn't here with us, who like really helped me to not expose my ableism around other people, but my ableism towards myself. And that was something that was true of Renegade. Was that, you know, he had all the space in the world for other people with disabilities, but for himself, he's just like, yeah, I'm not going there. I can't do that. And that is also in part generational. We're unlocking all of that. So we had a gift, I think, to be able to talk about disability the way we did, not overtly, you know, Bible thumping, but like crack
Now,
that
but
open.
Tammy, what is, you have sort of an invisible disability, or how do you?
I don't even think it's that invisible when you stand and talk to me for long, or if you watch me write things. But yeah, for most people, they're just like, she's just weird, which is true too.
Well, but for people out there who want to relate to your experience, what is it like to be in your shoes and direct something like this? You know.
I am late to the party. A lot of people don't realize how long it took me to get through life to realize that I was here to be something other than a breeder. My family considered me the dumb one. I was never diagnosed with dyslexia. I figured it out as an adult. I had a friend who was teaching Montessori, and she's like, "How did you learn how to read?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And so she practiced with me, and she's like, "You've memorized words by sight." She's like, gave me something with words that I'd never seen before. I couldn't read it. And when I get really overwhelmed, my inability to read or process what I'm looking at, I might even actually formulate words and sentences of something that's on the page, but my brain isn't connecting it to an actual thought. It's a very odd experience.
Well, this is fascinating to hear, Tammy, because
I've had to learn grace for myself and understand that this is something. And then, somebody like Amanda comes in and says, well, how different would have your life been had this been the case? And I was also, I lost my kids for 8 years.
Say that again?
I lost my children for 8 years because their dad basically was very good at making the case that I was somehow not a stable person. And I did not realize that this was something that was actually generational, that had happened in generations before me. And it's just bizarre. And my kids today would tell you, now that we're together again, that that's like, we don't even understand how that happened. And there's a lot of wounds around it. But, and I still am figuring out what the heck to do with all of this. So being included in a project like this and finding out ways to support and share the stories is critical.
Well, you were clearly born with a lot of talent, and what you're doing with it is pretty impressive.
And it's funny because for people like, when you've been told your whole life that you're not smart or that you're wrong, that was the other thing, is how many times I was told that my perspective was wrong. I have very little perspective sometimes of the quality of my work. I lose touch with that, and I think all artists do that, and that's all of our unified neurospiciness.
So you've completed these 2 films,
So,
and despite your not being able to read or whatever, you're
but I can't read.
But you're publishing a graphic novel, so round of applause to that. Let's do a little plug for your graphic novel. What's the name of it? Come on, let it out here.
I actually have it today. So
Over here on the table.
I'm just selling this. This is a print copy, so you are like a sample copy. So there's actually, it's been marked up and stuff. But
Yeah, you just happen to have it right here.
I was bringing it to show it off today. Who was like, she didn't know how much a mentor she is.
Today, you mean today?
Tuesday.
Today.
So the title is Nishinit Ahas, which means the second crow in the Lenape Unami dialect. I am also Lenape Nation of Pennsylvania, which is Eastern Woodland Indian. And actually, my illustrator for the animations in A Long March, who is Filipino, is my illustrator on this. And you can flip it open if you want to. But this is a test book for us to see if we could pull off graphic novels, because I have started writing historical fiction about my tribe. And I, of course, set it in the time of the cataclysmic coming together of Europe and what are now called the Americas. And so we have ships and children, and things get sunk, and people are stolen, and we talk about the slave trade across the planet, which included taking my people and actually stranding 178 of them in Tanzania at one point, because Barbados wouldn't buy us anymore. And it's basically me getting my rage out. So that's it.
I love it. I mean, I have all the confidence in the world. This is going to be a feature film someday.
Yeah, I'm hoping a feature animated and
animated. You want to
we'll
see
have
it
to talk
animated?
about music.
Done.
And thank you. I didn't know I was going to get to plug that. Thank you. We're going to start a Kickstarter campaign for this book on April 7th. So
Excellent. Well, here, you know what?
Thank you.
We still have some time left, but
I'm
how
gonna
about we
try.
give everyone a chance to plug whatever the
Please.
next thing
What
they
are
want
you
to plug? How about we do it?
Do
We'll
it.
go and we'll go around and come back today at the end. How about that?
So we're gonna start down.
No, Angel.
Angel, I feel like I just have way too much going on. That's
Okay.
where I'm at. Like, obviously, we're working on the feature of I Got Next, which earlier I told you all that Pat was a part of that. So we are in the process of talking to some people. We have production companies that are interested in it, so we're hoping they come on board. We're working to get, if anyone's from Savannah, you may have heard, there was a rapper that was born here named Camouflage. He has a daughter named Falaje Johnson. We're working on getting her to play that role that Belly Bass played in it.
And she's a star. Let's be clear.
Yes.
She's not just a musician. She's an NCAA basketball player. I believe she was the highest paid female athlete in college,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because she's a social media star as well. So that'd be a good choice if you can get.
Just dropped a mixtape recently as well.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
talented girl,
And
young
then,
woman. Yeah.
And then I have a short film that got picked up and is streaming currently on All Black, and we are working on the feature of that. And then another short film that I did with Macro, we're working on the feature of that, all while with my daughter, who we have a production company. We're about to start our crowdfunding for her short film, which is called Rare, and it's about her journey of battling cancer from the age of 19, which she still has not been cancer free yet, and she just turned 20. How old is my daughter? 23, 24? So there's that.
Wow.
And we're, and now Day has me.
It was your fault. It's not my fault.
Day now has me figuring out how we're going to do a documentary. I like the hybrid idea. That is going to talk about my family, that my great-great-grandmother was born in the Owen Thomas house here. And so there's a whole story behind that. And we go back 4 generations in Savannah, with my mom being like the last part of that generation being born here, because me and my brother were born in DC.
Okay.
But my great-great-grandmother was born in the Owen Thomas house, and then she was gifted to their son, Richard Owens, and went to Habersham County, Georgia. At the time, it was just called Fairplay. It's now Clarksville.
Okay.
And then the house burnt up there. They moved back to Savannah, and that's when like the rest of the family was born here in Savannah. So
I just love all this local connection. I gotta play it up, Savannah. We're the hostess city, so
yes.
love
And he's also chair of the board, Women in Film and Media Colorado, and runs
okay.
a ton of events. Just did an industry
We literally
fair.
just
She's nuts.
ended industry fair on March 1st, and then I came here.
Yeah.
And so
Well, thank you for fitting us in. We're
working
lucky
with
to have you.
Sundance has moved to Boulder,
Yeah.
Colorado. So now we're partnering with Sundance to bring other like organizations, women organizations that just kind of like help underserved communities be part of Sundance. So
Oh wow, very cool.
because I feel like I have all the time in the world, so I just
Well, I think you've got a lot to teach us here at Hindsight. We're trying to be the Sundance of the South, so
You're well on your way.
let us
Yes.
let us know what we should be doing too, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Marsha, what's next for you?
I'm working on a project about invisible disabilities.
Invisible disabilities. Wow.
I've started and stopped it a couple times because of my own surgeries.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I've gotten some momentum. It's back in play, and I'm back in pre-production.
Excellent. Well, good luck with that. And
Thank you.
let us know more as it develops, please.
Will do.
Please. Okay. Cargo, what you working on?
So currently we have Jill Scott. Her new album just dropped that we worked on that project. We also are creating an album for Music Soul Child that's finished. We're just in the final stages of that. Outside of that, we're just doing more production, songwriting, and creating new artists. We're doing a partnership with Kevin Lyles. He just started his record label. And I didn't say this in the beginning, but I was raised in Savannah, Georgia. Actually,
What?
I grew up in Fred Russell. We moved from Philadelphia back to Savannah. My family is originally from here. Okay. The Birds, the Moores, and the Hagans are from here.
Wow.
So we came here when I was 3, and
Do you come back very often?
this is literally the second time I've been here in about 5 years. 5 years. So I've been away for a while.
Oh, well, so we can take a little credit for bringing you back here.
Oh, absolutely! Savannah raised me. This is it definitely raised me.
Yeah, see what's going on with you, man.
We do the same thing. We
Okay.
partners, so.
Okay.
Jill Scott, Music Soul Child. I just won my first Grammy with Alicia Keys, and was nominated with Usher. Part of the Hell's Kitchen play on Broadway
Broadway.
for the music for that.
Fantastic. All right. So then, Dave, tell us what you're doing and anything that we should maybe expect from Renegades round 2 or something.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing right now is we are on the hunt for funding for season 2. Unfortunately, we were primarily funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting because they thought, hey, this is a great idea. And unfortunately, they no longer exist. So right now it's trying to find other places and other homes.
That topic keeps popping up in a lot of our Q&As.
I am sure it does. So that I think is probably the biggest thing. I have a few film projects percolating, including with some of the Renegades folks, because they're too talented. I can't help myself. And the only other thing is actually a book. It is currently, the publisher has it on Kickstarter. It's actually called Muslim Futures. Remember I talked about that tie between past, present, and future. I actually have a story on it about the idea of pilgrimage. Actually, what happens, how do you do a pilgrimage when you're in space? And the idea is to pilgrimage back to, holy places on Earth.
I love it.
So it's just kind of what would that look like, and what does that sound like, and how meaningful is that to people? And, all the way back from actually a variety of cultures, the idea of pilgrimage is a big thing. So while it's Muslim futures, the story is a little bit bigger, I think, than that.
Fascinating. And, that brings it back to Judy Lindell Ray, right? Like, in the spirit of her legacy. You're carrying that on, right?
A little bit of fun and science fiction, and where are we going to go? And as long as it's, what was it, her base thing? As long as the story is fun.
All right, well, let's all have a wonderful day here in Savannah.
Awesome.
Thank you all for coming out.
Awesome, thank you.
I face each day as a renegade.